On Thursday, the 5th of February, we have something in our skies to look at, and it is Mercury at 27 degrees of Aquarius, squaring Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus. At a basic level, Mercury at 27 degrees Aquarius is the mind in Saturn's country. Aquarius is Saturn's domicile, his temple, as well as Capricorn. So Mercury is thinking inside systems, rules, networks and communities, but also ideologies and technologies. It's the logic of the collective in that respect. It's less about our private opinions and more about how the ideas circulate, coordinate, and become policy. So Mercury at 27 degrees Aquarius is in the Egyptian bound of Saturn and in the decan of the moon. Saturn bounds Mercury tends to sharpen into sobriety, careful language, strategic messaging, accountability. And Mercury here has a slightly austere realism. Reminds me of a bit of the messaging of Stoicism. The moon decan gives it a public, responsive quality. It's not just what I think, but what the crowd is feeling, repeating, reacting to. So you get a Mercury that's trying to get his head round a collective mood and translate it into a structure, but also into the plans, explanations, or even reframing the whole mental narrative. Uranus at 27 degrees is landing in Taurus, and that is Venus's domicile. And it's the material world, Taurus. So we're talking money, food, land, resources, the body, and stability. At 27 degrees Taurus, you're right on the term shift. It's going to go over into Mars bound. It's a threshold from contain and hold the Saturn into cut, force and change, Mars. The decan for 20 to 30 degrees Taurus is Saturn. So the Taurus end of this square is heavy, it's consequential and structural because it has Saturn's face with a Mars term edge that can manifest as sudden breaks, disruptions, spikes, shocks and decisive actions. So put them together, Mercury in Saturn's bound square and Uranus in Taurus is the battle between idea-driven systems and value-driven systems. So the rules, the network, the narrative, the Aquarius Mercury collides with the body, the bank, the supply chain, the land. That's the Taurus in where Uranus is. Because both signs are fixed, attention isn't easily overcome. It's stubborn. The Taurus is a ball. If you've ever seen the farmers trying to move the balls, you see a stubbornness. They do it in their time. But this can show up as entrenched positions, refusal to budge, or a sense that change is inevitable, but it's resisted until it becomes a complete rupture. So the decans are describing the atmosphere of the conflict. Mercury in Aquarius has got the moon mask there, so it's public sentiment. It can sometimes be like an emotional contagion, but we've got headlines there, rumours and the group mood we need to think of. Uranus is wearing the Saturn mask, the real, the scarce, the immovable, the consequences. That pairing often looks like everyone's talking rather than reality doesn't care. The narratives tend to swell with this flavour of Mercury and Uranus, but the material situation forces a reckoning. So we're looking for situations, probably in economies, in trading, food and resources, where it's forcing the hand of a government because of the talk that is going on amongst the collective. So we can see some of that now. And if we look at the archetype of Mercury, Mercury is the merchant. So it is about the marketplaces. And Uranus is the great disruptor. But the one good thing we have about it is that Uranus is sat in Saturn's bounds and in the decan of Saturn. So this can, although this can be about institutions, it can also be about structure and slowness. So it's slowing Uranus down here, or slowing Uranus's disruption. And Uranus has been in Taurus since 2019. Went into Gemini for a short while and it's gone back to Taurus. So it's been reviewing and resetting. It's doing its final work here in Taurus. So it's always a surprise disruption, and particularly at the end degree. So we need to be aware of this. But we also have Mercury sitting in Saturn's bounds in the superior square, but also the decan of the moon. And the moon denotes the people. So we may see that there is financial disruption and then the people respond to that. They've been mass mobilized since Pluto went into Aquarius. The collective people have been mobilized and have been out in their masses protesting many and varied things, but often to do with control and power, the powers that be, and the wars and the circumstances economically that the majority of us are forced to live in. So whatever is about to occur, and there's been a lot come out of Davos, the economic forum where the rich and powerful decide all our futures. It seems that people are very much unhappy with Trump's bid to annex Greenland, to set up this peace board, which is basically a way of filtering money back to his own pocket. So people are very unhappy, and there are noises in Europe about stopping the investment, stopping the buying of American products. And also the dollar has fallen. Apparently there's panic at the White House, which I'm not surprised. Trump getting a reality check here. And I think we may have a huge disruption in terms of resources, land, finances, the economy, with Uranus there in Taurus, but also with Mercury as the lord of the markets. But Mercury is also a trickster and the king of thieves. There's also murmurings coming out of the Economic Forum about the major companies within America, because of the fall in support for America globally, because of what's been going on, of them shifting their investments into Asia. So watch the space. I think we're in an era of the falling of empires. And we also need to remember that Neptune has just moved into Aries, which is ruled by Mars. It's about ignition. It's about vision, putting our vision into action. But it's also the spiritual warrior. Timely time in the sky for major shifts powered by a collective voice and collective action. I think as a whole, people are done with colonialism. People are done, I'm talking about the collective of people, are done with empire. And so there may be some major shifts, some major disruptions. And although Mercury is fast moving, so it'll only be a few days, the world can change in a few days. Or it can be a collective idea that catches fire and then hits that hard wall of resources, timing, cost, and sustainability. So we need to watch what we're investing in. And also when we are putting our ideas, our visions, with that Neptune just gone into Aries last week, it's vision, the action of vision. But we need to look at the sustainability in our resources, maybe look for other resources there. But that's going to happen with the collective idea. So the bounds are describing the mechanism. Mercury in Saturn's term wants to plan. Mercury wants to audit and verify, to stabilise the message that's coming. Uranus on the Saturn-Mars term cusp in Taurus describes the moment stability flips into decisive disruption. Uranus is the great disruptor, and it's often a surprise. It's like the floorboard shifting under what you assumed was solid foundations. So the square can be brilliant for breakthroughs, particularly with technical, social, and organizational breakthroughs, but it's also volatile for markets. So those of you investing in the financial markets, be careful. And volatile for schedules, devices, infrastructure, and anything that is supposed to stay steady. And Mercury is about communication. So we could see some problems with internets and all the infrastructure with the internet. One more nuance, Aquarius is the 10th sign from Taurus. So it's a superior square relationship by that whole sign counting. That means Aquarius can dominate the Taurus side, that mind, strategy, and messaging. So it can try to steer that disruption, sometimes successfully, if we can understand what the change is and organise it. But sometimes as over control, that micromanaging, we try to manage what can't be managed. So the way to work well with this transit, and we need to remember as well, square is of the nature of Mars, so there can be some very difficult tension there. But we can act like Mercury in Saturn's bounds, okay? That's how we work well with it. So slow the speech down. Don't let it go straight from the mind to the mouth. Slow it down and verify things before broadcasting. Okay, so before you put your content out, before you write your article, before you announce something within work or your family, verify that. Build contingency plans, backups, and expect a surprise. It's Mars term of Taurus that Uranus isn't, so that can be sharp and cutting. Okay, and don't let the surprise hijack your nervous system. Use this friction of the square almost like a diagnostic. Where are your ideas outpacing your resources, or where are your resources holding hostage a necessary future? Okay, that's questions to be asking, particularly over the next week. Where is my ideal, my plan, or my narrative outpacing my resources? Where am I clinging to comfort and stability in any way that's blocking necessary change? Because at its best, this square is a breakthrough signature. Mercury in Aquarius can innovate, systematize, and reframe. Uranus in Taurus can liberate value. It can change how we relate to money, to our bodies, to the earth, and to what we consider as secure. But it does it by disrupting what's calcified. So if something is wobbling this week, whether it's a plan you've made, your budgeting, your technology, a schedule, or a conversation, treat it like an oracle almost. It's showing you what needs updating in that interface between the system and the real world. So a good mantra, me and my mantras, make it true, make it workable, make it real. It's not just a brilliant idea, but the idea that can live embodied in you, in time, in resources, in the actual world. So that is what I have for you. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share, drop a message in the comments if you feel like it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.